Hey guys, Cole here from the Away Team Pod. We've got an awesome episode for you planned today with Dylan from ThunderChats. But before we get to that, I just wanted to remind you to check out our previous episode with Jeff Garcia on the San Antonio Spurs, and the episode before that, our season recap of the Indiana Pacers and the Philadelphia 76ers, where we also unveil our special jersey giveaway promotion. So check that out, guys.
James catches, puts up a three. Won't go. Rebound Bosh. Back out to Allen. His three-pointer. Bang! Tie game with 5 seconds remaining.
Welcome everybody to the Away Team Podcast. Today we have a very special guest with us, Dylan from the Topic Thunder podcast, who's also a contributor at Daily Thunder. Welcome to the podcast, Dylan. What's up?
Hey, man. Thanks for having me. Doing great, man. Excited to talk some Thunder and NBA here.
Sweet, man. Well, yeah, happy to have you here. We'll just jump right in. Big transition from this compared to previous years. How'd you feel after the Russ and PG era ended? What were your expectations for this year?
Man, it was really tough. The Paul George trade came about 3:00 in the morning, and of course,
Yep.
I was woke up by my buddies calling me and roasting me in the middle of the night. So that was a great experience. And after that, it was just like, it was a matter of when more so if Russ was going to get traded. It was really bittersweet because I'm a Kentucky fan too. I mean, you see my hoodie, wearing Kentucky Wildcats. So I followed Shai in college, so I was really excited that he was going to be on the team. I just kind of hoped he was going to be able to play with Russ. But once Russ announced the trade, there was a lot of sadness in that. So, but once we got closer and closer to the season, I'm an optimist at heart. So, I was like, maybe a couple of things fall our way. We might be able to squeak in, maybe be 8 seed in the playoffs. But little did I know we was going to do a lot better than that.
We're up in Toronto, by the way, and that 3:00 news break from Woj was very important for us. It's funny how that one event can have such different implications for these two teams, right? Like for you, you have all of this future promise, right? With all of the draft picks. And for the Raptors, it was really just a bittersweet end to a magical season.
Yeah, and there was a rumor too that there was I guess it was just more of a leverage play, but there was a rumor that they was trying to get Paul George and Russ up there in Toronto too. So that would have been wild.
Yeah, I remember hearing about that, and then everyone's like, they were just playing them. They didn't have any interest in staying in Toronto. They just wanted to basically try to hike up the price as much as possible with the Clippers and get as many things out of them as possible.
Right, and any Paul George trade to Toronto probably would have included Lowry and Pascal Siakam. So it's hard to say how much better that team would have got.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, so Chris Paul comes to the Thunder, right? Did you think he was going to be on the team when the season started?
The whole Chris Paul saga has been kind of weird with me because like any other Thunder fan, I wasn't his biggest fan, specifically once he was traded to our team. But he got his start in Oklahoma City. A lot of people didn't really remember as we got into the start of the season when Chris Paul was drafted to the New Orleans Hornets. That was when Hurricane Katrina hit. So he played his first season and a half in Oklahoma City for the Oklahoma City Hornets. So it's where he got a start in his career. And, he's spoke very highly of Oklahoma City. And the more that I looked into it, this is a guy who been talked about had an untradeable contract, a guy who's had attitude issues, a guy who's had locker room issues with, all the things with James Harden. I was like, this is really a new opportunity for him to, go in, show he can play nice with the others, show that he can still be a leader and elevate, these young guys, and show that he's still a top 20, 25 talent in this league. And, I mean, I can't say enough good things about what Chris Paul's done because he's done all that and more. Like, it's just been amazing. Now, to answer your question, I knew that we probably wasn't going to have a trade for him until I think December 15th was the date everybody was looking at because that's when the newly signed free agents could be traded. And then, the trade deadline was the big day. But as we got into the season, Chris Paul was playing better. Yeah, I don't know, man. I just felt like if anybody was going to be traded, it was going to be Gallo because, he's an expiring contract. And I said that if Chris Paul got traded, it would be around draft time because I feel like that's when you could really capitalize on his production and bring somebody back of value. But yeah, I don't know, man. I never really thought he was going to get traded this year. I thought there was a chance if Miami really wanted him, but you just look around the league, guys that need point guards and guys that had money that could take him on. I just didn't think it was going to happen. And as the season kind of went on, you started to realize the Thunder wasn't going to attach an asset to get rid of.
When the season first started, the start was a little bit sluggish, right? They went like 8-12 or something to start the season, and people were like, okay, this is going as expected. But the way that they ramped it up immediately after that and just continued on through the rest of the season with this Chris Paul, and then you have, Shai Gilgeous, obviously, and Dennis Schroeder coming out of nowhere and putting up a career year. It does speak to the way that Chris Paul kind of has elevated the team in a cultural sense that I don't know how many people were expecting that out of him. But it does seem like he's just taken it on as a project to make all these guys around him as good as possible while he's still able to be as involved in the day-to-day, minute-to-minute on-court activities, right?
Yeah, absolutely, man. And, it's funny you mentioned that start. I think before Thanksgiving, we had like this atrocious record. Like I think it was 5-15 at one point even. But after Thanksgiving, I believe we had the second best record in the league going into bubble play behind Milwaukee. And, a lot of that is, I think we had with rookies and trades and free agent signings with Mike Muscala and stuff like that, I think we had 9 new players on the roster. So a lot of that early season struggle was just guys kind of learning to play with each other. And once we found our groove, we really found our groove. We just hit the ground running and kind of didn't stop. So yeah, Chris Paul's he's been huge for Shai's growth and development. He's been huge for Darius Bazley, who had an awesome game today, his development, and Dort, guys like Gallo and Steven, they just talk about how awesome of a teammate he is. So yeah, man, Chris Paul's been awesome here.
So for the next question, I had originally sent you this preamble of right now they're playing like a top 3 team in the West, which doesn't look so good after that Phoenix loss. But
Phoenix is playing like a top 1 team in the West right now, to be fair. they're out of control.
Just nuts, man. Did you see that Booker 3?
I didn't want to say this on Twitter because I didn't want to hurt anybody's feelings, but that was the same exact spot where Dame hit that shot in the playoffs last year. So
yeah.
It really was, yeah.
For us.
But that game aside, and I think that game is somewhat of a fluke, right? Still no Schroeder. Shai sat that game out too, right?
And Danilo and a couple other guys, right?
Yeah. Chris Paul and Dort were our only regular starters that played, and then we was missing a lot of rotation pieces. So, yeah.
Yeah, I'm not reading too much into that. But aside from that, right, anyone would still say OKC's looked really strong. What do you think about that? Do you think it's for real? Do you think they're a top 4 team in the West?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. If you paid attention to kind of what the players were saying before they went to the bubble, I guess they were like pre-bubble interviews. I don't know. They had media availability before they went to the bubble, but all the guys, their message was consistent in saying, like, we have a special team. We believe we can go down there and make some noise. We're not going down there just to waste our time. We're not going down there just to cash a check. Like, we believe we can go down there and do something. And I think in the games that they've needed to, they've showed it. Like Utah, they look great. They beat the Lakers. Whether you want to say LeBron was sleepwalking or not, he played the whole game. And then the Nuggets game, they pushed them to the brink. I just think in the Grizzlies and Suns, they didn't come out with a lot of effort against the Grizzlies, but against the Suns, definitely, having 5 of your top 7 guys is going to hurt you every time.
Yeah.
I was just going to say, and not having Dennis Schroeder, who's part of like one of the best lineups in the entire NBA this season, and they don't have any other comparably amazing lineup. It's tough to work around that, right? The 3-guard lineup has been so central to their success. And Dort is great. I really like watching him play. And he's learning a lot, but he's learning on the fly, right? He's like picking up things every single game. He's going to be great, but at this point, it's trial by fire.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Dennis has just been, you kind of touched on it there at the beginning. Like, Dennis just kind of came out of nowhere and had the special season. Like, he's always been like this prototypical, like, solid backup point guard when Russ was here. He can get you 15 off the bench, whatever. He was never a great shooter this year. He shot like 38% from 3. I think he's averaging 19 points off the bench right now. He's just been ridiculous. And not only that, Dennis Schroeder is a guy that just picks you up full court and will lock you up defensively. So we're definitely missing that. We've experimented with different ways of trying to alleviate that, pushing Shai to point guard, which a lot of Thunder fans want him to be the point guard of the future. But Shai could really be 1, 2, or 3 of the future. We don't know yet, but he's kind of playing through that. Dort played point guard in college. He's had some ball handling responsibilities, and
Wait, that guy played point guard in college?
Yeah, he played for Arizona State, man.
Had to be the thickest point guard in the league, right?
Absolutely, man. He's aspiring to be Ray Felton.
He's shaped like a pit bull, dude. I don't understand how anyone can go through that guy on offense.
Yeah, man. Dude's a whole tank. And like I touched on with the Lakers, a lot of people can say, oh, LeBron was sleepwalking. And I mean, there's some credence to that, but he held LeBron to 1 of 5 shooting. The fact that undrafted rookie two-way player did that to the best player in the world, I mean, that's saying something. And, Booker kind of gave him some issues today, but he's locked up Mitchell. He's locked up Lillard. He's made life difficult for Harden. There's something there defensively. And even offensively, he's showing that he could do more. He was kind of just a shoot a 3 and attack a closeout guy, but he's showing he's got a tight handle. He crossed up Matisse Thybulle in the scrimmages and did a ridiculous reverse layup. He's got some nice finishing around the rim. So yeah, Presti really found a diamond in the rough for Dort, and that's going to be huge as we get into the rebuild stages.
I was pretty surprised that he didn't end up anywhere in the second round because, the little draft best left had him on there from 33rd pick on, basically. Yeah. And I guess, I don't know what it is, if it's age. People were just not used to seeing a guard look like that, and they didn't want to take the gamble. They'd rather take, some Euro prospect. I have no idea, but I'm happy that he's found a starting role on a team already. That's very impressive.
Yeah, man. And I mean, a lot of drafts actually had him projected in the first round. A lot of the podcasts I was listening to was this guy will probably go first round. And then when he went out drafted, it was just, what the heck? I think a lot of people were scared of his 3-point shot just because it didn't look like he really had one in college. But his free throw percentage was in the high 70s, low 80s. So, you kind of thought that it would work itself out. And there's been some games it's okay, this guy could be a sniper from deep. But the other games it's all right, he's still working on his form. But yeah, I've been really pleased with it. He's doing Canada right.
The form's weird. I mean, he's got that really slow release, and you just wonder if that's going to hold him back from being a good spot-up shooter around the talented point guards.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, the Thunder broadcasters make jokes and say that his shot touches the rafters every time it goes up. So,
should we talk about one of the other rookies, the Darius Bazley?
Yeah. Can you just explain to me why he's good? I look at the box scores and he's played well, but when I watch him play, he just makes so many mistakes and he looks so lost.
We were watching a game the other night, and I think it's defense and just a lack of experience maybe, because he was just getting mixed up on rotations. So hopefully that'll get fixed. I mean, if he's scoring 20 points a game for a few games in a row, then that's a pretty good sign for his offense, I would say.
Yeah, for sure. And, Bazley, I mean, not only is he a rookie, but he's a 19-year-old rookie. Not only is he a 19-year-old rookie, he's a 19-year-old rookie who took a year off from basketball. So, he had a lot going against him, and he's still very much kind of feeling out what he is. I don't think the Thunder really know what he is. He's played at the power forward. He played backup center today with Nerlens and Steven out.
He's going to get crushed playing center, though, right?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, he's just rail thin.
He's added a lot of muscle kind of through the hiatus, but he's still small, but he's super athletic. He's got a lot of skill to him. He's starting to show off that he's got a nice little 3-point shot. But the thing I like about Bazley, the thing that intrigues me the most is he's got a really high basketball IQ in terms of offense. And he talks about, I would rather get an assist than score a basket because, he thinks the game at a higher level than most people. Defensively, a lot of that is just being a rookie, kind of understanding where you need to be. But he's shown some things. He's got a nice body. I think that it will fill in over time. But, yeah, I'm pleased with Bazley. I'm interested to see how much better he could be. I don't know if you guys followed, any Thunder fans around draft time, but they were not happy when we drafted Darius Bazley. It was just this intern from New Balance. Awesome, Presti.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask. He's the intern guy, right? $1 million intern.
Yeah, absolutely. Which, I mean, hey, in retrospect, that's not a bad way to go about it. He was training every day. He's got a shoe deal for life. He got $1 million. I mean, hey, good on you, Bazley. But there was definitely detractors. But kind of like Chris Paul, the more you looked into it, the more you thought about it, the more you take a step back from the situation, you're just all right, maybe it's not so bad.
Yeah, it's funny. Like Dort and Bazley have looked so strong in the bubble, but Shai Gilgeous-Alexander has struggled in a lot of ways.
Mhm.
Like I was looking at his stats through the bubble games, and he's averaging 17 points per game on less than 40% field goal percentage and less than 30% from three. Like, are you reading much into that, or you think he's just a little rusty?
I really don't know, man. I think he's just in a slump. Players go through slumps. I think a lot of it is that he was kind of thrust into a role that he hasn't been in throughout the season because of Dennis's absence.
Right.
Kind of asked to do a little bit more on offense. And the thing about, when you're in a shooting slump, Thunder fans have seen Russell Westbrook in a shooting slump. If Russell Westbrook goes in a shooting slump, like he's going to go crash the boards harder than anybody out there. Like he's going to go try to create chaos in the passing lane unlike anybody out there. What I've noticed with Shai is when he gets in slump, he tries to shoot his way out of slumps. And sometimes that's just not the way to go about it. And it makes me mad because I want to see Shai, develop a consistent three-pointer, and I think he's able to develop a consistent three-pointer. But that dude's just so good at finishing around the rim. Like if your shot's not falling, like just attack the rim, man. Come on.
Yeah, I was actually surprised to kind of look a little bit more into his three-point stats and just see how much he pulls up versus doing catch and shoot, because he's actually a pretty good catch and shoot three-point shooter. He's shooting like 42% or something on those shots, but then he's only about 32% on pull-ups, and it kind of went into a deeper rabbit hole, and I just started looking at the assist type stats on the Thunder team, and I was really surprised that they were one of the least assist reliant teams in the league this year, 28th place. And you'd think with the three guard lineup being so prominent that you'd have all this ball movement leading to open looks for shooters around the arc. There's a ton of ISO ball, which works because Chris Paul is so skilled, SGA is so skilled, Dennis Schroeder can create his own shot really well this year, especially. But I was just wondering if you had any insights onto that kind of thing, because one other little fun fact is that Steven Adams only gets 0.3 less assists per 36 than Shai, and I was just shocked.
Yeah.
But Steven Adams has become a pretty solid playmaker out of the post.
Yeah, that's something that's kind of been given to Steven this year as opposed to, years past. And Thunder fans have kind of seen, Steven's more skilled than he puts onto the court. We know he can shoot threes. He just won't because he believes that other players are better off shooting those shots. But, yeah, it is fun watching him kind of create out of the post because he does have a high basketball IQ. He thinks the game at a high level. He's made some pretty slick passes. But with Shai, when Chris and Dennis are both on the floor, specifically all three of them together, his role isn't so much the creator. That's definitely Chris Paul. So we haven't had to see him kind of create for others. It's more like Shai's our leading scorer. He's the leading scorer on the team. So he's our number one scoring option at that point. But as far as the assists for the Thunder not being high in the assists, it kind of goes back to just being one of the strengths and why I think we're such a good matchup for Utah. I don't know if you guys watched that first game, but we kind of took Rudy Gobert out of that game because we took a lot of shots in the mid-range and we made a lot of shots in the mid-range. Chris Paul is one of the best mid-range shooters in the history of the game. Dennis has been really good there this season, and Shai's been really good this season, and Gallo is really good there. So a lot of those shots are created off of the pick and roll, and a lot of those shots are created off Chris Paul, just Kyle Kuzma switching up on him and barbecue chicken.
And he's just not afraid to shoot over guys twice his size. We were watching the Denver game the other night, and he just pulls up over Bol.
Yeah.
Like it's nothing.
Oh, he's shot out that matchup too. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, dude, I'm a short guy that plays basketball. I can't imagine stepping into that mismatch and being like, yeah, I'm just going to shoot over this guy,
Yeah, absolutely. And if you watch his shot, it's very similar to how Iverson used to shoot. He falls back when he shoots it to create just a little bit more space. And I don't think he's done that his whole career, but it's definitely helped him get his shots over, bigger guys.
Yeah, and I think that part of the reason that they're not averaging as many assists is because when you watch them play, a lot of their scheme is we're searching out a mismatch and we've got so many skilled players on the court. We're just going to feed the ball to the guy that's got the mismatch and let him cook.
Yep, absolutely. Ride the hot hand. Yeah, you got three guards out there. You might have two good perimeter defenders, but that third one's just going to take it to the paint. You got Dennis with one of the quickest first steps in the league. You got Chris Paul and all his craftiness, and you got Shai with how smooth he is going to the basket.
And Gallo. Gallo, when he gets switched onto a small guy, he destroys them.
I'll tell you what, man, that man has the sneakiest athleticism I've ever seen.
I know,
He'll just be
man.
driving to the basket so lackadaisical, just explode for a reverse jam. I'm like, where did that come from?
It's crazy, man. It's like you just think this is one of the first years he's been healthy in a really long time. And when you watch him with OKC, you just think, wow, how different could this guy's career have been if he had just had like 3 extra seasons where he played 70 games?
Absolutely. I feel like he was pretty healthy last year, and that's kind of like when he was kind of having his coming out party, and he was a big part of the Clippers' success, honestly. But that was kind of the thing with Gallo. It's like, he's good when he's healthy, but he was never healthy. And knock on all the wood I can find in the room, he's been healthy the past couple of years. So we've been resting him on every second of the back-to-back. That was consistent even in the bubble. This was our second day of the back-to-back. So I think they've been smart with his load management, and we've just had a little bit of luck. So hopefully that luck continues with Gallo.
Yeah, and it's really nice to have someone so skilled as like a spot-up outlet when, I'm just looking through the roster and trying to figure out who their other really good spot-up shooters are. I mean, Gallinari basically counts for like 2.5 guys.
Yeah.
And Mike Muscala, he's pretty good on the catch and shoot, and Abdel Nader's been pretty good on that as well this year. But give the most skilled guy the ball and let him cook works really well for the team because of that roster construction. And then you just need a couple guys out there that you can pass out to if things get really dicey.
Yep, for sure, man. It's been fun to see when you say it like that, like, if you're just listening and it's like, just give them the ball and let it cook. It sounds like hero ball, but like if you're watching the game, you can see it's not like that. We're not new to hero ball. We've seen hero ball for a while. Not just Russell Westbrook either. Kevin Durant, people remember Kevin Durant was famous for hero ball too. So we know what that looks like, but no, this is really just seeking out matchups, whether it being, you got 2 guys guarding Chris Paul and Shai, so let Dennis cook, or whether just, getting in the pick and roll and back out and just exposing them. And, that's been our bread and butter, and let's just hope it continues working.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely executed with a lot of intelligence and vision, right? Because you see, I was just watching some videos of just some Dennis Schroeder highlights from earlier this year, and the guy looks amazing. He's just making these behind-the-back passes like they're nothing, getting to the rim like it's nothing. It's very impressive to see. So, yeah, it's been fun to watch.
Yeah, so let's talk a little bit about playoff matchups. So we'll talk about Houston then. How are you feeling about OKC's chances against Houston?
Man, this is what I want to happen. Honestly, this is what every basketball fan should want to happen. I mean, you got Russ versus OKC, you got Chris Paul versus Houston. You got the whole Harden narrative in there, and there's Thunder fans on my Twitter feed. They're like, I don't want to play Houston. It could be because they don't want to play against Russ, or it could be because they're scared of Houston. I'm not scared of Houston. I think we actually match up really well against Houston. We've talked about Dort as a defender, but somebody that I haven't mentioned yet is Andre Robertson. He's been out for 2.5 years with injury, but he's come back. He's looked good. He's moving well. I think all the tools are still there. I think at this point it's just conditioning. He's just got to really get back in basketball shape. And time's of the essence. He's got about a week. But when this guy was healthy, there wasn't a better James Harden defender in the league. And if you have Andre Robertson, you have Luguentz Dort, and Shai is a capable defender. He's got length. He's smart. He's a capable defender. Chris Paul, sneaky defender. I talked about Dennis Schroeder, picking up guys full court, like getting all up in your grill. He's a good defender. And, there's a lot of flack about Steven Adams, but Steven Adams against PJ Tucker, Steven Adams against Jeff Green, like that's going to be a problem for you. And you take all that, you could throw all that away. OKC fans know Russ gets in these little battles in his head. Ricky Rubio against the Jazz, Damian Lillard against the Blazers. It's going to be that tenfold against his former team, against former teammates in the playoffs. I don't think it'll be as bad as if, he actually had to go to OKC and play in the playoffs, but it's definitely going to be there. So I could definitely see the Thunder pulling it off. And like I said, I just think we match up good against them. So I feel okay against the Rockets.
Yeah, quick Roberson take. I know he's been out for 2.5 years, but somehow he looks like he's 10 years older than he used to be.
Yeah.
Man, that guy looks so much older.
He had a Rip Van Winkle experience. He went up to the mountains and slept for 22 years and came back. He looks amazing for not having played professional basketball for years. I mean, I was very, very happy to see how well he was doing. The threes on the first game back or the first or second game back were really fun to
Yeah.
watch, but seeing like the defense kick back into gear, he's a really deadly weapon, especially against a team like Houston. We're going to see in real time if the super small ball, I guess I don't want to call it gimmick, but it is what it is. We'll see if it works. I mean, it's worked pretty well, but I do agree with you that the Thunder, they're willing to play their game. They're willing to play smaller with guys that are really sticky on the perimeter defense and able to get in these guys' heads. So I agree. I'm rooting for the Thunder in that matchup any day.
Yeah, it feels like Steven Adams is the sort of center that might be able to disrupt those super small lineups too, just because he's so imposing and physical. How is a guy like Robert Covington supposed to box Steven Adams out?
Yeah, and what I think is really important is Steven Adams came into this bubble looking a lot leaner than he has. And not only looking leaner, but like not losing any of that strength that he's had. Like he's still got a really strong core, so he can't be moved around the post. And if you remember back in the 2016 playoffs when we was playing against the Warriors and when we should have beat the Warriors, Steven Adams was, about the same shape. Like he was able to switch on to smaller guys and he's not going to shut down Steph Curry. Like, let's not get crazy. But he was able to switch on to those guys and, not be out of place on defense. And I think specifically against Houston, that's going to be huge. If we're able to switch everything with Steven Adams out there on the floor, like, that's a huge win for the Thunder because, like I said, man, I don't think anybody's out there is going to be able to stop him around the rim on the offensive end. Not only him, but Nerlens Noel. They don't have an answer for Nerlens Noel either. So, yeah. I don't know. I've pretty much accepted long ago that this was going to happen. Even when it looked like it was going to be Thunder Jazz, I pretty much accepted this was going to happen. So I've been mentally prepared for it for a long time. I think at this point we have to lose out and the Jazz have to win their final game in order for us to go to the 6th seed and play the Nuggets instead of the Rockets. But
would you rather play the Nuggets?
Man, I don't care who I play. We had a 0.2% chance of making the playoffs, and we're talking about.
Jesus Christ!
I mean, like I said, I like our matchup against Houston. We've just never been great against the Nuggets.
Yeah,
we beat them once this year, but they beat us 2 other times. And even like going back to when we had Russ and PG, like we never played good against them, and a lot of that is because Jokic just gives Adams so many problems because he's able to take him away from the rim. And if you take Steven Adams away from the rim, then that kind of neutralizes a guy like Steven Adams. So I think a guy like Nerlens Noel becomes really important in that series. I think a guy like Mike Muscala becomes really important in the series. But I don't know, man. Jokic is really good. And Michael Porter Jr. If Michael Porter Jr. is like any percentage of real, like that sucks for us.
Yeah, I mean, what a surprise. I saw some stat today saying that Jokic averaged like almost a 30-point triple-double against Rudy Gobert this season. Something insane. I mean, it basically goes to show how much he can neutralize these crazy good rim protectors with ease. But it does not look likely like they'll be facing off against each other, which is good. I think the basketball gods came down and said, Houston and OKC has to happen. There's no other fate that would make sense.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. The only way it'd be better is if, they actually got to go to Houston and OKC and play games. I think that would have been must-see TV.
Maybe next year.
That's awesome.
And speaking of next year, I mean, I think one of the things that is really impressive about the Thunder and just looking forward is how they were able to basically start a rebuild but still stay competitive. But now they have all these assets that they can build even further from, right? Because they have a few pretty skilled young players already, but the sky's the limit, or package it up and get another star to put next to everyone. I mean, it's a really enviable position. I think any team would kill to be in.
Yeah, absolutely, man. It's pretty funny. Thunder fans are hilarious. We're sitting here fighting for seeding in these bubble games, and a lot of Thunder fans are like, "Oh, well, what team are we matching up with?" But there's Thunder fans that are literally tracking if we get our pick back from Philadelphia that we got in a trade like 2 years ago. So it's fun to see, but no, it gives you a lot of flexibility. If you have a guy like Chris Paul in your team, you're not going to be able to tank. Mm-hmm. You're just not. Like the leadership he provides and the production on the court that he provides, like it's just not going to happen. You'll probably lose Gallo in free agency, whether it's a sign-in trade or some other thing. Like I don't think he's going to come back. I don't think it makes sense for our future, and I quite frankly, I don't think it makes sense for Gallo if he has bigger aspirations of winning a title in the next couple of years for obvious reasons. Same thing with Steven Adams, Dennis Schroeder. They're expiring contracts. Guys like that, I can understand if we cut ties with them. But at the end of the day, if you still have Chris Paul on your team, I don't think you can officially start your rebuild. And it's cool that you have all these other team assets. It's cool you have Miami's pick, you have Houston's pick, you have the Clippers pick. But some of those picks aren't going to be like early lottery. They're not guaranteed to be great picks. So the only picks that you can control are your own. So eventually you have to make the decision, do I want to kick the bottom out and get a good position in the draft to get players and really start to rebuild off and build around Shai, Bazley, maybe Dort, I don't know, some of those young guys? Or do I want to try to add to what I already have, to add to this season that shocked everybody, shocked the NBA world that, this team that, like I said, had a 0.2% chance of making the playoffs is fighting for the 5 seed, in the Western Conference, the toughest conference of basketball. So, like I said, I just think it gives you a lot of flexibility, and I don't think there's a wrong answer. I think if you want to try to improve your team and keep fighting, we're fine with that. If you want to kick the bottom out and tank and start the rebuild, I think Thunder fans are at peace with that because they kind of expected this year to be like that anyways. So this was just a nice treat.
Man, I'm surprised you're so pessimistic about Gallinari re-signing with them. Like, I could see him coming back after having such a good year.
Yeah, the thing is, we was going to trade Gallo to Miami. Like, that was all but done. And the thing is, he wanted 3 years on his contract. And, I don't have Gallo's age in front of me, but I feel like he's
32 as of 2 days ago. So happy birthday.
Happy birthday, man.
Oh, yeah. I didn't know it was his birthday. That was dumb of me. Yeah, I mean.
It's all right. We didn't. So.
35-year-old Gallo, $20 million when we're trying, when we have this opportunity to, be in position to get these younger skilled players. I honestly, if Gallo comes back, it might be a 1-year deal because we can't trade Chris Paul. We feel like we want to package these picks and kind of make one more run at it. Not all the picks, like that. Let's not get crazy. Just make one more run at it, or we try to find a sign and trade partner so we can get something back for him. And I feel like Gallo would be willing to do that. He's been great for the team, spoke very highly of the organization of the front office. So I think that's a possibility. But like I said, man, I just don't think the Thunder or Thunder fans want a 35-year-old Gallo on their team paying $20 million. But that's just me.
Yeah, that's fair. I don't rule out a Chris Paul trade. I hear the Knicks have about 8 power forwards with a lot of talent that they're willing to send to you, so could still happen. One quick question. I don't know how much you're following the end of, the second round of the draft, but is there any prospect in this coming draft that you want Thunder to get, or is it kind of just like, it's such a crapshoot,
It's tough, man. I mean, in our position, we had the Nuggets first rounder, so that's like 25-ish or something like that. I'd like a guy like Sadiq Bey or something like that, like a 3-and-D type player. And, I've seen some mocks have him like going late lottery. So if there's not somebody there that you feel like is really going to fit a team that, you want to keep competing, I'd like to take a shot on like a Jaden McDaniels or something like that. Just, take a shot on potential because I think McDaniels has a nice game. He made the wrong decision going to Washington. He should have came to Kentucky. That's besides the point. But I do think he still has potential, specifically offensively. And, the Thunder have a good track record with developing young players. So I would like to take a shot at a guy like that if, a guy like Sadiq Bey isn't available.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's all we have. You had any questions for us, or we can shut this shit down?
Yeah, no, man. I just appreciate you guys having me on. Always down to talk Thunder, always down to talk basketball. Just appreciate it, man.
Sweet, man.
Do you want to just quickly plug anything that you're working on, your Twitter handle and all that, so our listeners can find you?
Yeah, for sure. You can just follow me on Twitter at ThunderChats at @CHATS, as I used to like to say. You can follow my podcast on Twitter at OKC Topic Thunder. We try to post 2-3 times a week. Do that with a group of Thunder fans. It's a lot of fun there. I write for daywiththunder.com and also overtimeheroics.net. All your Thunder covers there. And yeah, man, that's pretty much it.
Well, thanks so much for coming on. I mean, it was great talking to you about the Thunder. Definitely a team that I've watched in spurts, but it's good to get someone with a lot more knowledge about the team to really explain it, all the numbers and make them all make sense in a way that just watching games here and there really would.
Yeah, and we're going to be doing a season recap for the Thunder later this week. So this was a good refresher to have you on and enlighten us.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Anytime y'all hit me up, I'll come on whenever.
All right, Perfect. Cool. Well, all right, away team out.
All right, take it easy.
Cheers, man. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, man.